And hello, welcome to another installment of And Now the Good News, the webcast where we look at a challenging issue, sometimes not even that happy an issue, and find that uplifting element that speaks to all of us. And today, really fitting in very strongly with that theme, John Bailey from Nordstrom joins us right now.
Thank you for having me on.
It's really a pleasure. Now, and I get it. You are a corporate spokesperson, and your corporation is heavily involved, and this is the uplifting aspect in the biggest way, with the nonprofit organization called Shoes That Fit. We've done coverage certainly on Shoes That Fit and show that this organization is doing phenomenal work. Your company is involved with them. First of all, we'll have you just describe what Shoes That Fit does and who they are.
Well, one of the things that we know is that for families, when they're looking to get ready for back to school, that shoes sometimes can be one of the most expensive things that a family can buy.
Amen to that.
And, with children, 1 in 5 children, I think we've read, live in poverty. And, they don't have appropriate shoes, or their shoes don't fit, or they're worn out. And so what Shoes That Fit does is they work to identify schools through students who maybe participate in the free meal program or a reduced cost meal program.
Sure.
To determine where is there a need to provide sneakers to the underserved community. So basically what they do is we partner with them. We invite our customers right before the start of the school season to join us by purchasing these little $10 cards. And the $10 card, all the proceeds of those cards goes to getting sneakers and us being able to provide those to the students.
All right, now, and folks, I want you to think about this seriously for a sec. Because think about it the way I did. I was like, okay, shoes, yeah, it's important. Everyone needs to wear them. That's nice. But what Shoes That Fit has pointed out to us in our coverage of some of their activity is sometimes it is the key to a child's performance. And we're not just talking performance on the playground or the basketball court here. We're also talking about performance as a kid, as a student. If you will, elaborate on that.
Yeah, so we've heard from the schools. They've reported back to us to say that they do see an increase in those things, especially self-esteem. When children are wearing proper fitting shoes, self-esteem grows by 85%. And children participating in all those fun kid activities that they should be participating in goes up by 70%. And one other statistic that we've heard is that there's actually a 40% increase in attendance when a child is wearing a proper fitting pair of sneakers.
Yeah, in fact, that was that last point was the one I was going to maybe come into the next question on, which is attendance. It's just one of these things that I don't know if people commonly think about. As you're saying, if a child has, look, sometimes I'll be in town, going around town, and I will see a long line out of a shoe store, which reminds us that shoes are just a big part of culture.
Mm-hmm.
So for a kid to not have, not even like the nicest, most expensive pair of shoes, but just like a decent pair of shoes, that's that much of an impediment to them participating in sort of life?
Well, think about a child. I mean, their feet are growing. They're constantly growing. And so there is a constant need to keep replacing a shoe for a child as their feet grow. And so it does definitely help with that self-esteem and making them feel like they can do anything.
And I can say this. I mean, I recently had to buy a pair of sneakers.
Okay.
And couldn't believe how expensive they were. And these were not high-end. You have been active with Shoes That Fit for some time. When you first got started, were there any surprises for you as to how important shoes were and how many kids didn't have them?
So for us, we started partnering with Shoes That Fit about 10 years ago in 2009. And we would go out to the schools in advance of the shoe drop, where we would actually have a group of volunteer employees who would go out there to measure the children's feet. And as you're measuring the children's feet, you actually see firsthand the sneakers or the shoes that the children are already wearing.
Yeah.
And you find sneakers that are worn out in places that obviously show that the shoe is too small for their foot. And you just see shoes that have holes or cracks in the bottom that if you were walking in rain, obviously that rain's going to come up through the bottom of the shoe for the child. And so you see it firsthand and you see how important it is. So we started doing that in 2009, and I think to date we have donated 165,000 pairs of sneakers through the help of our customers who are purchasing those cards in our stores as well.
And speaking of customers, Nordstrom has been involved with Shoes That Fit, and Nordstrom is a company not based in New York that is now expanding into New York.
That's correct.
Talk a little bit about that. I really do not want this to be an ad for Nordstrom. One thing I learned, though, and I full disclosure here, I have been a Nordstrom customer off and on for decades, but it's only when I've been out of town, not in town, because there was no Nordstrom. So now you all are coming here, and shoes actually are a major aspect of your being.
They are. We started out as a shoe store in Seattle, Washington. Our founder was a guy by the name of John W. Nordstrom, who was up at the Alaska Gold Rush and then came down to Seattle and started a shoe store back in 1901. So roots are really the heritage of our brand, and it seems befitting that we would partner with Shoes That Fit to do this for the children. You were saying about Nordstrom coming to New York, and about a year ago, in April of last year, we opened our first men's store up on Broadway between 57th and 58th. And a week from this Thursday on October 24th, we're going to be opening our flagship store for women as well as children.
And I should point out that is an architectural gem, that store. Very much looking forward to that. But back to Shoes for Fit, we covered an event that Shoes for Fit did at the Sojourner Truth School. Mm-hmm. Can you talk more about that and how it's representative of your larger mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So about a week ago, about 40 employees from our Nordstrom stores here around the area went to PS11’S to do the shoe drop, or the day that we give out all of the sneakers to the students. There were about a little more than 200 kids that were there with us that day, and our employees were there to help them find their shoes and also help them put them on their little feet and help them lace them. It was a really joyful day. The kids were so excited to get their sneakers. As soon as those little shoes went on their little feet, the kids started jumping up and down to see how high they could jump in their sneakers. They were running around to see how fast they could run. So they were really having a great time. And I heard, I wasn't unfortunately able to be there, but there was like a big dance party that the kids had to really test out how their new shoes were feeling and how they were working for them.
Wow. And when that happened, of course, we covered it, but it was the culmination of a longer process. So how much earlier were your volunteers in contact with these kids?
So about a month before that time, we went out to the school to measure all of the children's feet, and this is the entire school, all 200 children. And so we went up there and took notes of every child's size, their names, if there was like anything they might be interested in terms of color. And then our team went to work to pull together the shoes that we dropped off last week.
And as a parent of a tween, I'm just curious about this. Is the measurement done with the aim of the child's foot growing fast?
It is. They do account for a little bit of that growth. So it will be a shoe that fits, so that they'll be able to do what they normally do as a kid. But there's a little bit of space and a little bit of room in there so that as their little feet continue to grow, they'll be able to wear them for a little while.
And what's the age range for the kids who can participate?
Most of the children are in elementary school. I know that at Sojourner Truth that some of the kids went up to 8th grade. So, but primarily we're focused on elementary school kids.
And I am sure people seeing this are, because it happens every time we do this show, people will say, how can I get involved? Certainly, we've talked about how involved your own employees have been, but what about just regular folks? What can they do?
Well, I think the best thing to do is this is a promotion or a campaign that we typically do right before kids go back to school. So we just completed that. But, we invite customers to join us next year in the months leading up to this time when we'll be having special cards that will be placed in stores for customers to purchase. But if a customer today hears about Shoes That Fit and wants to learn more about them, we would say check out their website and learn more about the efforts that they're doing all year round, not just during the back to school time frame.
And we'll point out on PIX11’S.com, we've got their contact information. Definitely check that out. That raises another item that I was just curious about myself and certainly interested in. I participate in the Postal Service every year does like a Secret Santa where you can go in and there's all these letters from kids for things they want. I've always been struck by how many families say, we need shoes. You're from a retailer that deals in a lot of shoes, so maybe you're not surprised by that. But how for someone just watching, how common would you say it is that the need is so great, particularly among families who are in need?
I would say I think there's always a need, and I think there's a need when you think about the seasonality of where we live and the changes in the weather. You need something different for summer than you do for winter, and so there's always a need. There's a need to stay warm. There's a need to just get through the day, and so I think that shoes or any other garments I think are really important, especially as we get into some of these colder winter days.
Sure. And again, I encourage you to support Shoes That Fit. And we can't thank you all enough for your support and for being a sponsoring group of Shoes That Fit. And certainly can't thank you enough for being here on And Now the Good News. I'll close with this. Do you want to add anything else I have not asked you, John Bailey?
I was just going to say thank you. Thanks for bringing attention to Shoes That Fit and the great work that they do. We're thrilled to be a part of what they do, and we're thrilled that our customers join us every year to help us provide sneakers to kids in underserved communities.
John Bailey from Nordstrom, a big supporter, 165,000 shoes worth. Is that 165,000 pairs?
That's in total. This year alone, we did nearly 30,000.
Wow. Enough said. Thanks so much for being with us. And for this time, that is And Now the Good News. We will see you next time. Thank you.